Hi guys, Balls968 with the O is 0, and in today's video I have made a top 10 ranking. A top 10 ranking of the best Premier League strikers of all time. So make sure, stick around and see where your team striker ended up. Honourable mentions: Jermaine Defoe, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Dennis Bergkamp, Fernando Torres, Carlos Tevez and Eric Cantona. I wanted to start this ranking with more than a handful of honourable mentions, as I think it would be quite an injustice not to mention these players. Firstly, Jermaine Defoe. If we are talking purely numbers, he should feel massively hard done by not being in more of these rankings and not getting in my top 10 either. The man scored 162 goals, making him the 8th highest goal scorer in Premier League history. But I have tried to look at this as a wider spectrum than solely goals, as I've looked at all-around ability and impact, which is why Defoe misses out on my top 10. Second honourable mention has to be for Ruud van Nistelrooy, who I was actually originally going to put into my top 10. The guy was absolutely phenomenal in his brief stint at Manchester United and led that team so bloody well. Just outside of the 100 club and just outside of this top 10, then there is Dennis Bergkamp, who by all accounts was one of the greatest technical players to have plied their trade in the league. The things he could do with a ball was pure magic. Fernando Torres deserves a mention for just how explosive he was in those first couple of seasons at Liverpool. He took the league by storm and was scoring all types of goals from every angle and range. The partnership he had with Gerrard was absolutely legendary. Next mention goes to Carlos Tevez, who was a freaking animal on the pitch. A beast, so tenacious, so tough, big goal scorer, and worked his socks off for his teams. And then lastly, I'd like to mention Eric Cantona. I know he has made a fair few of the top 10s, and I understand it. His talent was second to none, and he was mesmerising to watch. He didn't score as many as you'd think, considering how highly people regard him, but maybe that's even more of a sign of just how talented he was, and he does only just miss out on my top 10. 10th, Didier Drogba. Okay, we are starting the official ranking now with ex-Chelsea striker Didier Drogba, and honestly, what a striker. Although he played for Chelsea, a team who I am supposed to dislike as a Liverpool fan, and despite the fact he loved a goal against us, I absolutely adored watching Didier Drogba play, and he is one of my all-time favourite strikers in the Premier League era. His goal tally is more than respectable, sneaking into the top 100 club, but it was everything else he did that brought so much success to that Chelsea team. His power and hold-up play was better than anyone else's, and he could destroy any defence put in front of him. Amazing player who signed off on his Chelsea career in style with that performance in the Champions League final. 9th, Luis Suarez. This player gets into this ranking for being, in my eyes, one of the greatest players of the past couple of decades, and maybe of all time. The things Luis Suarez could do with a football were mind-boggling, and the goals he could score were extraordinary. I think he's arguably the closest to Messi in creating that sort of magic in the past 20 years. In that 13-14 season, he missed the first 5 games of the season through suspension and still went on to score 31 goals, not a single one of which was a penalty. Erling Haaland, of course, overtook this record last season with 36 goals from 35 games, but if you remove his penalties, Haaland scored 29 in open play, less than Suarez, who also managed to assist 12 goals, by the way. I'm sorry, but that is the greatest ever season by a single player in the Premier League. I'm convinced. Ability-wise, he'd probably top this ranking, but longevity is against him here, and so he's in at 9. 8th, Michael Owen. It shocks me that Michael Owen has not been brought up in this conversation by more people. Yes, he wasn't the same on his return from Real Madrid, but those years in Liverpool, oh my word, was he good. I think he deserves a hell of a lot more praise than what he gets by most people. He is the only British player to win the Ballon d'Or during the Premier League era, and the only British player since Kevin Keegan won it 44 years ago. An award he won at only 21 years of age. Honestly, the lad was electric, scarily fast, and just the most remarkable finisher. Away from the Premier League, he has performances that will go down in history, like against Arsenal in the FA Cup final, and that goal against Argentina. There was no better player to come in and replace my next entry. 7th, Robbie Fowler, yet again another player who I think deserves more recognition for just how good he was, particularly in these rankings where he seems to be getting slept on by so many. There is a reason he was referred to as God by the Liverpool supporters, the most clinical of finishers. He instilled so much fear in opposition defenders and won so many games virtually on his own. Exceptional player who shone as one of the best strikers Liverpool has ever seen, which is absolutely massively impressive when you look at the talent of the past. What a striker. 6th, Andy Cole. You could argue that Andy Cole is the most underrated striker in Premier League history. He holds the 4th most goals in the Premier League, held the most goals in a Premier League season in the old 42-game format, and was the quickest to 50 goals in the Premier League until very recently, beaten by that with Haaland. All of this, but for some reason, people always seem to forget about him. The guy was frightening and bagged goals no matter what team he played for. His partnership with Dwight Yorke will go down in history on the red side of Manchester. All around, ability-wise, I think the 5 above him in this ranking are better, but when it comes to scoring goals, he should always be regarded as one of the best goal scorers this league has ever seen. 5th, Sergio Aguero. Goals-wise, he falls short against Andy Cole by just 3 goals, but Sergio Aguero just had a little bit more. He was majestic and led Manchester City from the front for nearly a decade. Out of 33 teams that he faced during his time in the Premier League, he managed to score against 32 of them. Somehow, the only team he failed to score against was Bolton Wanderers, for those trivia hunters out there. Goals galore and tearing teams apart with his running and technical prowess. There's not many as accomplished as Sergio Aguero, and he deserves to go down in Premier League history as one of the very best. 4th, Harry Kane, the man who looked like he was going to break Alan Shearer's seemingly unbreakable record before his move to Bayern Munich this summer. Harry Kane makes it into 4th spot for me. It's absolutely crazy just how good he has become. There weren't any signs when he was going out on loan to the likes of Norwich and Leicester that he was going to go onto this level. The 3-time winner of the Golden Boot, Harry Kane isn't just limited to goal scoring. His ability to drop into play in the middle of the pitch, defending from the front, linking up with teammates, spraying 60-yard passes, definitely the most all-round English player for a fair few years now. If he does come back to the Premier League and ups his goal scoring record, he could up his position in this ranking too. 3rd, Alan Shearer. From the 2nd top goal scorer in Premier League history to the top goal scorer, Alan Shearer was an absolute machine. He just scored non-stop. Even when he was 36 years of age, in his final season at Newcastle, he still managed to get double figures in the league. One absolutely unbelievable goal scorer. All types of goals as well. Left foot, right foot, headers, volleys, tap-ins, 30-yard screamers. Put a football in front of Alan Shearer and he'll find the target. He definitely deserves to be in the top 3 of this ranking, and if it was just down to goals, he'd be top. But for me, he doesn't get any higher on the podium, finished purely down to the 2 ahead of him, just being better from an all-around perspective. 2nd, Thierry Henry in 2nd spot, and I've gone for the man who actually tops most people's rankings. Thierry Henry was a freak of nature, so fast, so technical, and a really deadly finisher. One of the greatest players to have ever played in this country, never mind just in the Premier League era. Henry was the best player around for a good couple of seasons at least. He could do so much with football and just devastated defences left, right and centre. I completely understand why a lot of people pick him as the best Premier League striker, but for me, there is one person who pips him to the number 1 ranking. 1st, Wayne Rooney. Yes, Manchester United legend Wayne Rooney tops my list. He played for my team's 2 biggest rivals, but I'm not letting that blind me to the fact that Wayne Rooney was a phenomenon. Arriving on the scene with Everton and scoring that goal against Arsenal at just 16 years of age, he never looked back. He scored some of the greatest goals that I've ever seen, and he won every trophy available to him during his Premier League career. Wayne Rooney had absolutely everything and could play any position on the pitch, and he would do if you needed him to. He just loved to play football, and you saw that in every game that he played. His talent was unquestionable, but his commitment and aggression just made him such a joy to watch and such a nightmare to play against. Wayne Rooney, in my eyes, is the greatest striker in Premier League history. And there we have it, guys. What do you think of my picks? Were there any surprises there, or was it all a bit predictable? Please do let me know down in the comments below, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And please do check me out across all my other socials. I am on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube where you're watching this video, and Twitch, which is where I do all of my streaming, all under the same handle, Bolts96, with the 0. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.